You can hit every milestone you once wanted and still feel like you're somehow completely behind. If that's you, this episode is for you because I've got something that's actually going to change this pattern for you for good. My name is Elyssa Smith. This is the Unlock Your Blocks podcast. And today we're talking about what drives high performers to feel like we never have accomplished enough. Doesn't matter how many things you tick off the checklist, but you're constantly going through your day just feeling like it's just never enough. Even when you get to a big milestone and you're like, you've been planning for this for a long time and you actually accomplish it and you get there. And then you're like, yeah, what's next? You never get a full break. Listen, if that's you, you're my people because this is something that I have spent the last 10 years recovering from. So I'm a trauma informed executive coach. And what I get to do is help people's nervous systems untwist and untangle and unwind so that we can actually live in the calm and peace and joy that we've always wanted when we are going after these high achieving things. However, the nervous system gets threatened when there's something big expected of us. Okay. So if you grew up in a household where you were constantly pushed to do the next thing and get the next set of grades, the next report card, the next big game, the next whatever it was for you. For me, the piano competitions. If that was the life that you lived and you never actually had the example of stopping to totally appreciate what has just happened, and then we pause and we breathe, your system is going to feel threatened by every new thing you accomplish. Case in point, this happened to me a couple of years ago because when I first did my TEDx talk, which is, you can look it up, it's why you procrastinate and how to stop it for good. Not because I know anything about procrastination. Of course, no, that's not me, but asking for a friend. So that talk was an amazing goal for me, right? It took me a long time to get it actually booked. The TEDx process, listen, hit me up if you want to do a TEDx talk because I can absolutely help you go a shorter route than I did. But getting booked is a big old thing. And every step you take, you're just working really hard to get there. And then you get to the stage and the day of, and I had a total freak out moment the night before where I forgot my whole talk and couldn't finish because there's just so much pressure. If you want to really like do it right, right? I'm sure you don't know what I'm talking about. This pressure that we have, this perfectionistic pressure as high impact people, this can drive us to just really zone in on that goal. And then when we get to the goal, then it's such a big deal and then it's over. For me, I walked off that stage. It was amazing. There was actually someone backstage. She was someone that worked at the venue and wasn't even supposed to be working that day. And she was like weeping. She's like, I heard your talk. And I was like, oh my gosh. I had been telling myself if there's just because I was so nervous about this talk, if there's just one person that this changes anything for, if there's one person who can understand themselves better and who can feel validated that this is not a defect of character, that if you procrastinate, there's literally a nervous system reason that you can't do anything differently until you know this piece and it's not your fault. So she was just like, oh my gosh. So I hugged her and I walked out and people were stopping me. It was great. It was like this amazing moment. But you know what happened about 45 minutes later? My brain was already like, all right, like what's the next big thing? Like I had another talk that I was getting ready for. And my brain was already trying to move to that next goalpost and it couldn't naturally just stop and take a breath. Thankfully, I know about this thing in myself and I know what nervous system techniques to use to slow that down. But our brains are constantly going to be going for that next goal. If you learn that that's where your safety is. Now, when I say safety, some people misunderstand. Don't misunderstand. If you grew up in childhood and you were actually physically safe, it may not first strike you like you had any unsafe scenarios in your household. However, I had a lovely childhood. I had no big T violent trauma or anything like this in my household. And also, I learned that the best way to get attention in my family was to perform perfectly. And if you grew up that way too, if you knew that the best way to get what you needed was to perform perfectly or to be the best at things, then you're constantly going to be looking for that next big goal to get to because your system now associates this pattern with safety. The harder I work, the more I try, the easier I get the things that I need. Rather than you just existing being the reason that you're allowed to have your needs met. You're allowed to feel completely connected, supported, safe, taken care of, have emotional availability to you from the people that love you just because you exist. But if your family of origin wasn't perfect and they didn't know those things, they wouldn't have had that to give. And so you might have grown up in a family where you just learned that the harder you work, the more accolades you get, the better chance you have of getting the needs for connection and affirmation, the better your chances were. So this just turns into like a spiral, right? Because if you have accomplished things as an adult now, and it's like it's never enough. Why do you always feel like you're one step behind, like a day late and a dollar short? That's what I always used to hear. And so when it comes from that place of that young part of you that grew up without getting your needs met naturally, you had to perform something for your needs to be met better, then the goalpost for safety is always moving, and you can't really let progress land, but that's the key. That's the solution, to be able to allow progress to land and the next step to be out in front of you, but not to be leaping towards it or leaning towards it or working towards it for just a moment, to actually be able to take a moment and be like, okay, today, here are my wins. So whether it's that big thing you accomplished and your brain automatically wants to go to the next big thing, or whether it's the end of the day and you still have a mile long to do list and you're like, I feel like I didn't get anything done. And you just take a minute to write down what your wins were today. Either way, this is massive progress for those of us who grew up in environments where perfectionism was cultivated and where burnout was inevitable. So here's the clue to all of this. This is what you need to be doing like today. If you can do it now, don't take this as pressure, right? I know that we are quick to turn things into pressure, but don't take it as pressure. Here's what might help just in this 24-hour container. First of all, just looking at it as that. Look at today as a 24-hour container. What did I accomplish today? I'm not talking, let's compare it to your big standards and unreasonable, impossible thinking, your perfectionistic, your processes that take you into perfectionism. I'm talking, did you brush your teeth today? You get a big fat check in the box. Okay. We're going to look at the little things that we have accomplished to prove to our nervous system that we actually are making progress towards goals. We're taking care of ourselves. We're doing a little bit to keep ourselves more healthy. We're doing a little bit on or chinking away at that to-do list. And when your body starts to understand that you get credit for every little piece of effort, nervous system response that can happen is that you get out of survival mode. Okay. So I want you to, if it feels aligned and spacious for you, just before you go to bed tonight, or even right now as you're watching this video, I want you just to write 3 bullet points of things that you are proud that you got done today. Even if you're not proud, I'm proud of you. Let that be enough. Just write down 3 things that you did today. Maybe you hit your big goal today. Let's stop and acknowledge that. Maybe you took a tiny step and you put another little piece in the puzzle to that next big goal. Maybe today was just a maintenance day because listen, maybe all you got done was you got out of bed and you looked for this video. Hey, we're here for that. These are wins. But if you're a high achiever, you're used to being able to just like kick butt and take names and do that next best thing. And it can feel really strange if you suddenly lose the capacity to do that, right? So it just means if you are feeling behind all the time, no matter how much you accomplish, no matter what big milestone you hit, it's your nervous system calling. It says, hey, I'm not feeling safe because there's no end in sight and we are burning out. We're going to have a crash and burn. But also, we have to keep achieving so that we can have acceptance. Because your system perceives that if there's a possibility of judgment, man, if there is a possibility that you are going to get kicked out of the tribe and eaten by a predator, this is not a safe thing. Your survival system doesn't know the difference between you not having hit the mark today and you actually being chased to be a lunch for a saber-toothed cat. So it doesn't know the difference. It goes into a sympathetic nervous system response no matter what. And the sympathetic nervous system response tells your cognitive thinking brain, you are not doing enough. So unless you reached the finish line today, you are not doing enough because we're not safe and we're in danger of judgment and getting kicked out of the tribe and getting eaten by a predator. So your job today is just to give a little bit of evidence that you did something, you're proud of yourself for it, or at least as you write down your wins, you'll become more proud of yourself for it. And it starts to feel like, wow, okay, well, I didn't get this big thing done, but I actually did do 47 little things. And that was really helpful. Because listen, if you're a high impact person, you're not probably even giving yourself credit for half of what you're accomplishing. So just start small, start acknowledging, start looking for the wins during the day. This is going to program your system to start looking for positive things instead of negative things. We have a negative bias because we are humans. Our human nature is to think like, oh gosh, if I don't get enough done, I'm going to die. It just jumps to that. Okay. It escalates very quickly. But if you can start saying, actually, I'm going to look for the good things. I'm going to look for the things I have done. So, I got myself some flowers, or I made myself some tea, or I lit my candle today, or I checked off this part of my list today, or I took care of my body today. I took a shower. I went for a walk. If you start looking for the wins, your nervous system will take that as proof that you are safe. Guess what it will stop doing? Protecting you in unnecessary ways, like being way too hard on yourself in your negative self talk. Okay. Your system just needs proof that you're safe. It will relax some of those protector parts, the negatives, harsh self talk, the perfectionism, the procrastination. It releases all of those things as it feels safer. Start with writing down 3 wins today. It will absolutely change what your brain is looking for proof of during your day and change your negative bias to a positive bias, and your nervous system will thank you. So I hope this has been really helpful for you. The shift in all of this is just learning how to let your progress land, allowing yourself to really be in the moment where you say, wow, I actually got some stuff done, or wow, I really did that thing that I set out to do. So if you're ready to stop chasing and start arriving, you can actually download my free PDF guide at elyssasmith.com/reset. And that guide gives you 5 nervous system hacks that you can do anywhere. They're super easy. And these are, again, demonstrating safety to your nervous system so you can get out of survival mode. And if you want to dive deeper, I am still taking some private clients. If you want to chat about it, you can grab a 15-minute free chat with me, elyssasmith.com/focus. And I will see you back here next time, where we are going to talk about more things that you can do for your nervous system so you wake up and go to sleep feeling joyful, peaceful, and maxing out your productivity. I'll see you here next time.